experiences with you, they opened up their heart in ways that maybe you may not know. Yet the beauty of them taking a risk to share with you important things of what God is doing and has done in their lives. And so I give thanks for that kind of integrity and that kind of desire to let God continue to work and for you to know of that blessing and to be blessed by it. And why is that important? So that wherever you are in your journey with God, that you can be encouraged knowing that somebody else made it through and you can too, because of God's amazing love for each and every one of us. This morning's sacred text is just a little bit strange, right? We don't often think about Transfiguration Sunday. I remember when I first started my ministry, I wouldn't even want to tell you how long ago that was, over 20 years and counting. I remember a parishioner saying, you know, you church people have a weird way of saying things. Transfiguration, what in the world does that mean? Right? And it is kind of a strange word. But let me say that transfiguration is an important word for us to grapple with this morning because we are getting ready to embark upon the season of Lent. And in the season of Lent, we have opportunity to have focus time, thinking about our relationship with the divine and what that means. Our relationship that's built on love and kindness and calls us into action in new ways. So it's very fitting that we finish this season of Epiphany, the season in which Jesus has been revealed to the world, a season in which we have heard story and story and story upon story of how Jesus came to interact with people in ways that brought healing, in ways that brought kindness, in ways that bring justice, right? So now we go into this season of Lent, of experiencing even more the fullness of what God has for us. So in our sacred text, Jesus invites Peter, John, and James to just go up to the mountain and pray, right? I can imagine that the text, there's some parts of the text that we don't know. For example, why is it that the disciples were sleeping at the time that God does this remarkable act in Jesus' life, right? How many times have we too been tired? Oh, go up to the mountain to pray. Oh no, I need a nap. Right? Leave me alone, Jesus. And yet, at the same time, the disciples follow. And so let's give them some credit, right? I love the fact that it doesn't matter how tired they are. When Jesus started praying, the dramatic experience that Jesus was transfigured, his essence was different. Everything about him changed. Everything. And did you notice what had happened when Jesus was transfigured? As he met with God first, and Moses and Elijah, they talked about the prophecy of what was going to happen in Jerusalem. And we all know that that prophecy meant that Jesus knew that Jesus' life would be coming to an end, right? Jesus knew that he was finishing up the work that he had been called to do, right? Thank goodness he was able to hear that from God so that he was expecting amazing things, right? Easy things? No way. But expecting things that would happen to where Jesus would know that Jesus was not alone because he had this time with God and God had given him the prophecy. I also think it's interesting that once the disciples saw what was happening, I'm sure they were like, holy smoke, let me get out of this Dodge area here, right? How many of us wouldn't be willing to do the same thing? All of a sudden you see Jesus completely different and something so extraordinarily beyond your concept of reality, right? It would scare the bejesus out of you. Wouldn't you be scared? Come on, be honest, right? And so Peter, I love Peter. Peter's the one you just want to say, shut up, Peter, right? Peter, as a cloud comes, decides he's got to get busy. He's got to do something, right? How many of us, when we start getting panicky about something, got to get busy? Now, I'm the kind of guy that when I get a little bit nervous or when I'm bored, I start cleaning. Right? I mean, just clean the kitchen. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired this week. So I started cleaning up the house. Now, all of our pets were like, oh, this is dull. Right? The vacuum drives them crazy. But I couldn't stand it anymore. I got busy. Peter gets busy thinking, oh, maybe this is Jesus setting up his reign on earth. Oh, let me go build him. Let's go build him a house. And let's not forget Moses, let's not forget Elijah, let's go build him a house. And in the midst of that, the voice says, this is mine own. You don't have to get busy. What did the voice say to Peter and all those who heard it? Listen. Listen to him. Just listen to him. I think that all of us, go through times in our lives when we're looking for answers to problems that we don't have the answers for. We don't know how things are going to turn out. Sometimes life unfolds in ways that we did not expect. Sometimes the sadness can be overwhelming. Sometimes the challenges can be so great that we don't know that we're up for it. And the only thing that God says to us is, just listen. Just listen. Let me speak to you. And then all of a sudden, as we open ourselves up, just to listen and stop all of the busyness that we want to do to make everything okay, then we open ourselves up to the moving of the Spirit in ways that bring amazing gifts. Sometimes it takes a long time to completely understand what we're being told. But I believe that God continues to want to direct our paths. That God continues to want to help us understand that we're going to be okay. That life is going to be okay. That we might go through times of difficulty, times of question, but that God is always going to be with us, no matter what. There was nothing that we could do to make God love us any less, or to make God stop caring about us. So instead of getting busy, maybe we could just open ourselves up to God working in our hearts and in our lives in a new way, in a different way, in a way that sometimes can be more fulfilling than we ever imagined it to be. But I believe it always in ways that God will give us hope when we feel hopeless. That God will give us inspiration when there is none. And sometimes we just have to know that God will lead us and guide us no matter what. And then, others will see us differently. People will be drawn to us differently because they see something within us that we ourselves, most of the time, don't even understand. The love of God taking over every aspect of our lives in new ways, in ways that bring hope, in ways that bring assurance that we are loved. Excuse me. That's what transfiguration is all about. So maybe we should use, instead of the word transfiguration, maybe we could embrace the word transform. That God transforms our reality by speaking to us, by bringing hope, by bringing love in new ways. The other interesting thing about this experience, about being on the mountaintop with God, did you notice what happens? We just don't stay there, right? We just don't stay in those places of comfort for very long. Because we have to come back. We have to come back to reality. We come back to our lives. We come back to the fullness that God is giving us to live, but to live in transformed ways, right? It was when the disciples and Jesus came off the mountain that Jesus brought them to a place of understanding what mission is all about. Because did you notice that as soon as they came down from the mountain, Jesus was confronted by somebody, by the Father, who desperately wanted his Son to be made whole. And what happened? Jesus spoke directly to the need, and that child was made whole. Because the love of God brings things to us that we cannot understand. But after we have experiences with God that rocks our world, then we have the opportunity to experience God in all of God's fullness. And then we ourselves enter into doing things differently. We ourselves see that our responsibility as the beloved of God is to give away the gifts that we have been given, so that others' lives are transformed, so that others can experience this mountaintop reality of God changing their life and their reality. At MCC Richmond, we see this all the time, and I think we sometimes take it for granted. Each and every Sunday, as we gather a round table downstairs, for some, it is the only meal that they have where they don't eat alone, right? Where people can gather and just to be heard. And they can connect with other people in ways that they know they are loved, that they are given gifts of conversation, that they experience the warmth of a warm meal. And that can transform our life. That can be a mountaintop experience for those who experience loneliness, for those who feel isolated, for those who are going through difficulty or realities that don't make sense to them, for those who are discouraged. And so we share food, we share conversation, we share concern for one another. We meet as a choir, and the music is wonderful. But each and every week, the choir has opportunity to share from their hearts about what's going on in their lives. And they really do open up to one another. Again, an opportunity to experience the fullness of God by knowing that people care enough to listen so that their concerns can be lifted and lives are changed. And lives are changed. At Living Wednesday Dinner Church, we try a whole combination of out-of-the-box things. Again, the opportunity for people to bring food and to meet and to share with one another what's going on in their lives. And then we learn from one another as different people present different topics. During Lent, we're going to be talking about spiritual practices. And I'm so excited about the spiritual practices that people are talking about. Things like centering prayer. What does that mean, just centering prayer? Things about dancing. I love it. One person's going to present that for them, it is a spiritual practice to dance even to the Grateful Dead. Talk about out of the box. And yet, why not? Because God embraces all of who we are, right? And so why wouldn't we come? Why wouldn't we do those things? It is now common It is not surprising to us that during the week you come in and bring canned goods for the food pantry. And every week, people bring in carloads of food. This is something new for us, to where we said that we wanted to feed this community. We wanted to make a difference in the lives of those who have food insecurity. And lo and behold, you found a way to do that. And you continue to make that a reality. And each and every week, people come. People come to receive food. We get phone calls. Do you really, you don't have to be a member of that church to receive groceries? No. All you have to do is come pick them up. Right? Each and every week. And we see it happen. People drive from as far as Williamsburg to volunteer at the food pantry. They spend more time driving back and forth than when they're here. Right? Each and every one of you do something to make that reality happen. And what a blessing it is, especially if you're a person that is hurting. If you're a person that needs to know that there are others that will care about you just the way you are. Just the way you are. And what a mountaintop experience it is that we get to experience people leaving here on Thursday from the lounge and the food pantry saying, thank you. Wipes me out. And you know it does. Each and every week, who would think that a hot dog, a simple hot dog, or a scoop of macaroni and cheese, or a hot French fry, oh Lord, Kool-Aid, would be so meaningful for someone? But this is what I know. If you're at the end of your rope, if you're at the end of feeling like you don't matter, that nobody could care about you, and you receive those things, it makes a huge difference in your reality. And you experience the holiness of God. I believe that God wants each and every one of us to know in an intimate way that we are cared for. That's what Transfiguration is all about. I love to go to the mountains because I find them majestic and beautiful and all of that, and they are. There's so much mystery to them. But I don't think you have to go to the mountain for a mountaintop experience with God. I think you just have to open yourselves up to the blessings of God, to the blessings that God has for you, and put your own thoughts aside. Experience God in a new way. This Lent, we have opportunity to do that. And I challenge you to read the devotional. I challenge you to add a spiritual practice. Don't give anything up. I think it's ridiculous that we say we give something up for Lent, because we don't give up a damn thing to be in relationship with God. We are inheritors of the gifts of God and the grace of God. And I think that God is just beginning to do a new and good work within the lives of MCC Richmond people, as we believe that God has a plan for us as a church. And that is what gives us excitement and enthusiasm about our call to change the reality of Richmond and the world. And now we have the assurance of knowing that not only do we believe that, but there are people in MCC who are like, what in the world is going on in Richmond? Right? I'll tell you what happened in Richmond. You guys had the guts to call a crazy pastor from California. Yeah, a lot of clear. That's right. And together, we are experiencing a mountaintop experience that is rocking our world and is rocking the world of each and every person that would dare listen. Listen to us share what God is doing in our church. Listen to us share what God is doing in and through our ministries. And lo and behold, listen to what God is doing in our lives. And that That is what transfiguration is all about. Being transformed by God and giving it away to others. So let's embrace it, and let's continue to find new ways to serve and experience the fullness of all that God has to offer us. Amen.
Amen.